Awesome. All right. Let me end the polling. I'm going to show you guys the results. It looks like we have a pretty wide variety right now of people's experience level with remote learning, which is understandable. But the really great news here is that FEV Tutor is developed to thrive in any kind of environment. So whether you are really used to remote learning or this is brand new to you, we'll be able to set up a program very seamlessly and work with whatever level you're used to. So right before we jump into our webinar today, I just want to go over a couple of things, procedures and things to expect. So first of all, you guys probably have already noticed that your mics are turned off. Just because there's so many of us here today, to make sure everything is streamlined, we have our chat box feature available to you to ask questions, make comments throughout the webinar, which we really do encourage. We strongly work with open communication and collaboration. So any questions or comments throughout our webinar, just shoot them through the chat box feature and they're going to be sent to me and the other panelists. So we'll be able to answer them right back in the chat box or even aloud during the webinar if that's, like a very universal question that we want to answer for everybody all at once. Just so you all know, this webinar is being recorded right now. So afterwards, we're going to be able to send you the recording through an email link for your reference, or you can share it with any of your colleagues or anyone who wants to know more but couldn't attend today. And finally, we know how precious all of your time is today and how busy you all are. So we're going to do our best to keep this as concise as possible, but make sure that you leave today with all of the tools that you need to implement one-to-one tutoring at home to support your at-home learning initiatives. So just a quick overview of our agenda. So we're going to start off with a quick overview of what we do at FEV Tutor and how we can provide at-home instruction. We're going to go over the setup process and the timeline for how that really works. And then we're going to have a ton of time at the end for any questions that you may have. So just to kick it off, I want to introduce our panelists. The first panelist that we have today is Daniel Hebert, who is our head of academics here at FEV Tutor. He has experience teaching in Title I school districts in Mississippi and at high-performing, high-poverty charter school networks, which now inform his work as a leader in the ed tech industry. Daniel leads a team of academic success coaches who collaborate with school district partners nationally to design and implement custom online tutoring programs modeled to drive measured student achievement gains. Our second panelist today is Diana Cunningham. She is FEV Tutor's senior academic success coach, and as a licensed teacher, she works closely with educators and students nationally to customize and implement online tutoring programs designed to meet the unique needs of our partner schools and districts. Diana works with our partners to ensure that tutoring programs are set up for success by supporting them each step of the way through a collaborative process of blueprint planning and monitoring academic progress throughout the academic year. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Dan.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. We know now, more than ever, your time as educators is extremely valuable. So we really appreciate, right in the midst of this unprecedented crisis, you all joining us and learning about ways we can collaborate to support student learning during COVID-19 school closures and in support of your remote learning initiatives in your respective districts. Over the past several weeks, we've had many of our existing partners and new schools and districts coming to us looking for ways that we can support their remote learning plans. We believe at FEV Tutor that despite cancellations and waivers of state tests, despite school buildings being closed, we strongly believe, as do many of our school partners, that learning must continue. And so we've put a model in place that's leveraging a lot of what we've done over time at FEV Tutor with live one-to-one tutoring instruction being powered by our family and student engagement team. We've leveraged a lot of those resources and systems that we put into place over the years that we believe we're uniquely positioned to support schools and to support learning in an at-home environment. One of the factors that we're going to get into today and really elaborate on is our family and student engagement team. So this is actually a department that we've developed over the past 5+ years at FEV Tutor, specifically for the sake of catalyzing participation in tutoring outside of the school day. So Heather, if you want to back up for a second, we want to touch on our family and student engagement team, but we also want to talk about how we are, from an instructional standpoint, connecting our live one-to-one tutoring instruction very closely with the core instructional strategies that our school district partners are implementing during this school closure period. So a lot of our school partners, for example, teachers are using resources like Google Classroom and other digital curricula to connect students with learning outside of the school building. And so we've put some systems in place that Diana Cunningham, our senior academic success coach, can elaborate on, really to reinforce, what schools are doing from a remote learning standpoint. Diana, do you want to jump in and elaborate a little bit before we talk about our family and student engagement team? Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on, what you see happening nationally in terms of districts leveraging one-to-one tutoring and what that means from an instructional standpoint?
Yeah, many of our school and district partners this time of year, during this really critical time, as Dan mentioned, are looking to align tutoring with their core curriculum. Our one-to-one tutoring and our instructional models are all designed to be an extension of the core classroom curriculum. We have the ability to provide standards aligned lessons and exit tickets or little mini assessments that are designed to support students with continuing to bridge skill gaps and meet grade level requirements. Many of our schools and districts at this time of year are looking to us to support their students with just skill building, with really supporting them with meeting those grade level requirements. And we can provide standards aligned lessons in all core subjects that are designed to support students with mastering grade level standards. We track student progress over the course of time through ongoing little mini assessments that we call exit tickets. So all of our lessons actually follow what we call a gradual release of responsibility model. I do, we do, you do, and they end with a standards aligned exit ticket. And this exit ticket is designed to gauge the student's level of mastery at the end of the session. We're using that data and sharing that back with teachers, administrators, students, and families, and we're also using it to inform instruction. So our lessons are designed to be self-paced and to support students with meeting each and every learning objective and mastering each and every learning objective before they move on to the next one. Likewise, we have the ability to connect our tutoring with any core classroom curriculum. As Dan mentioned, many of our school leaders are heavily leaning on curriculum through Google Classroom or any other type of online resources. We have the ability to support students in real time with completing online assignments. Students have various options in the actual session to share the content with their tutors through file uploads, screen sharing, even sharing content in advance with us. So many of our school and district partners are working closely with us to align the tutoring with what students are doing currently in their remote learning plans that have been put in place with the schools.
Excellent. Many of you who have worked with FEV Tutor in the past to support at-home learning for mobile student populations might already be familiar with this, but this might be entirely new for some of you as well. So our family and student engagement team is something that came into existence about 6 to 7 years ago. At that time, we had a lot of success as a tutoring company driving student achievement during the school day. So during controlled environments where students were in a classroom setting under the supervision of a teacher. And at that time, we were approached by our first virtual school partner. So an entirely online school, an online charter school, who had asked if we were able to connect students with services outside of a traditional brick and mortar setting. And so, confronted with that challenge and with that question, what we did is we established a team. We called it our Family and Student Engagement Team, and we've really honed and developed this team over the past 6+ years, and have a systematic approach for engaging students on scale in one-to-one tutoring outside of the school day. So we collaborate with our school partners on shared messaging, because our goal with our Family and Student Engagement Team is essentially to act as a direct extension of our school partners, and then to reach out to eligible students and parents to help build awareness that, you know, something like school-sponsored one-to-one tutoring support even exists, and then empower students and empower parents to opt in and take advantage of the school-sponsored support. We also do a lot of the heavy lifting that goes into connecting students with services. So imagine, you know, something like one-to-one tutoring happening on scale. There's a whole bunch of scheduling, logistics, technical support, all of these other things that go into making that possible. And so through direct communication with families via email, text message, phone calls, we're actually able to help them set up individualized tutoring schedules and plans that fit for them, and provide a lot of the technical support that students need. A lot of students we know are new to, you know, learning out of the home. They're taking home a Chromebook, or they're taking home an iPad, or some sort of, you know, school administered technology, and this might be the first time that they're really doing any sort of significant amount of learning from home. So what we've seen by our Family and Student Engagement Team reaching out and connecting these students with tutoring services, there's other byproducts of that, including, you know, it helps to catalyze participation in, you know, other remote learning opportunities. So if students are also having access to Google Classroom, and their teachers are encouraging them to complete assignments in Google Classroom, we've seen that by connecting them with one-to-one tutoring support, they're also seeing increased rates of engagement with Google Classroom and other curriculum resources. Diana, do you want to jump in and maybe provide a couple of examples of ways that we've worked with school partners, even just over the past couple of weeks, to establish shared messaging and then connect eligible student populations with tutoring services?
Yeah, so many of our school and district partners are working with us to leverage our Family and Student Engagement Team as a resource to help connect students and families to tutoring. Usually that involves, as Dan mentioned, some shared messaging. So it might be some email communication and you know, informational flyers that are co-branded for FEV Tutor and the school that are going out from the school district itself to let families know about this opportunity. We'll do things like work collaboratively to do some co-branding messaging, whether it's through a flyer or any type of social media posts. We also work closely with our school and district partners to really act as an extension and connect directly with each and every family. So that might involve our Family and Student Engagement Team giving the families a phone call, talking through the ability to utilize online tutoring from support or for support, helping to set them up with a tutoring schedule that works well for them, engaging in academic consultation calls. Oftentimes, you know, we'll use some shared messaging, such as we're calling on behalf of the school and district to help get your students started with online tutoring support that's completely free to the families, calling to help you set up a schedule and talk through a learning plan that will work best for you. We also do ongoing progress reporting and text message and email reminders before sessions. So families are oftentimes very appreciative of our ability to sort of provide that ongoing support and that ongoing progress monitoring. We're sharing progress reports on a weekly basis, not only with teachers and administrators, but also with students and families who are really looking to track their progress. As we know, a lot of you know, families are in a place now where they're supporting their students academically more than they ever have. And so they're oftentimes very appreciative of these ongoing reports and the ability to communicate directly with a member of our Family and Student Engagement Team if they have questions or just want to engage in academic conversations about what their students' goals are, learning styles, and really set them up for success and set them up with a tutoring program that's individualized to meet their needs.
Excellent, Heather. I think we can jump right ahead to the information about progress monitoring. Perfect. So I was actually just on a call yesterday with a principal and a group of teachers from one of our partner schools, and they said, you know, all of this is great. Like, we really appreciate your family and student engagement team, because we're over here, you know, trying to run a school. There's literally like 3 or 4 of us who are all of a sudden over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, you know, trying to transition to a completely remote, you know, learning environment and system. And so we really appreciate that your family and student engagement team does all of the outreach and connects students with services. But, you know, how are we going to be kept in the loop as an administration team? And so we believe at FEV Tutor that it's extremely important to close the circle on student engagement. So the way that we do that is we provide all key stakeholders with ongoing reporting. So that includes parents, students, teachers, and administrators. Everybody involved with that student's education is going to receive updates and reports on their participation and the student's progress in the tutoring lessons. So, for example, parents, when we register parent email addresses and phone numbers in our system tied to the student accounts, parents will be receiving weekly progress reports via email. They're also going to receive text message reminders, real-time alerts and notifications that help to boost attendance rates in the tutoring lessons. And then we send all of the results of the tutoring lessons back to our school partners as well. So teachers and administrators will be able to track student attendance and progress. A lot of our district partners are looking to open tutoring up to larger populations of students. A lot of times when folks are implementing tutoring during the school day, like during a physical brick and mortar setting, a lot of times we're being plugged into, you know, targeted interventions and test prep initiatives. In this model, you know, with equity and access being of the utmost importance, a lot of our school partners are transitioning over to more, you know, wide scale access for their entire student population or for an entire grade level, for example. And so by providing this type of progress monitoring and participation data back to our school leaders, teachers and administrators and others, we're able to sort of dynamically, you know, manage the program ongoing. So our academic success coaches will be in direct communication with teachers and administrators so that we can, you know, if we want to make decisions like opening up access for additional students, tracking usage of tutoring hours as part of their bank of hours, we have the ability to do that ongoing. Heather, do you want to jump right ahead to the setup process and timeline? We can walk folks through this and then we can start to just field questions, because I've been seeing already a lot of questions come across through the chat window. So we really want this to be about you all today. So we do want to open it up for live Q&A. But before we get to that, just to give you an idea of what the setup process looks like for at-home tutoring, it's really just a couple of basic steps. Step number 1 is to set up a consultation call directly with your academic success coach. So we're going to put an email address up on the screen in just a minute here. asc@fevtutor.com is a direct line to our academic success team. And that's how you schedule your initial setup phone call. So step 1, if you want to launch at-home tutoring at your school or your district, step 1 is to set up that initial phone call. Generally, it's pretty quick, you know, 10, 15 minutes. One of our academic success coaches will speak with you over the phone. We'll talk about shared messaging and a communication strategy. And then from there, we'll register your students in our system. So typically there's a roster share that happens where our school district partners are sharing with us the student information, including contact info, you know, parent and student phone numbers and email addresses. we'll get all of that registered in our system. Usually it's a quick 24 to 48 hour turnaround. And then we're off.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Hey Arlo, miss you, man.
It looks like one of our panelists was wishing a happy Friday to some of his family members. I just put him on mute, but happy Friday to you too, Paul. So the setup process after that point is generally pretty quick. We have your students registered in our system. We have all their contact info tied to their accounts. Typically, our school partners will send out introductory communication. So Diana was talking earlier about how we can share templates for sample emails and sample text messages that our school partners will send out to introduce the opportunity for students to participate in FEV Tutor as part of their remote learning. And then we'll follow that up with our family and student engagement team. We're going to do all of the one-on-one phone and email communication. That typically takes between day 4 and day 10 is a window of time by which we're communicating with your families directly to set them up on schedules. So after that 10-day time window is up, we will have somewhere between, our empirical data is showing that somewhere between 40 to 50% of any eligible student population will have set up on tutoring schedules and ready to begin. So the setup process is designed in a way that we're not trying to add any extra heavy lifting onto our school partners who we know are already very busy. So it's more us talking over the phone, collaborating on a communication strategy, and then FEV Tutor doing all of the heavy lifting behind setting students up on schedules and getting it up off the ground. Heather, you want to jump straight over to the step number 1 of the process. So asc@fevtutor.com is the email address that you would contact if you would like to set up a quick consultation phone call. And we'll put this back up on the screen again after our live Q&A. But if you want to set up your quick consultation phone call to get up and running, just send an email across to asc@fevtutor.com with your availability. And then we'll hop on a call with you. We'll develop that communication strategy and plan, and we'll be off and running. I think we're good to jump right over into live Q&A. Diana, I know you've been actively monitoring the chat window as we've been going here. If you want to start it off with any sort of standout questions that you've seen come across, and then we encourage you all to continue sending your questions across to us. Send it to all the panelists, and then we'll socialize some of those verbally with the group here.
Yeah, we had a great question about, the high volumes and traffic lately with, so many schools transitioning to remote learning and utilizing FEV Tutor. We just had a question about our ability to continue to provide enough tutors to support our students during this time.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just like the rest of the country, FEV Tutor is set up for remote work. So our tutors are working remotely, and we are going through a transition period right now, just like everybody else. And we have ample tutoring bandwidth to support any school or district who's looking to do at-home tutoring. And in many cases, schools are looking to involve even more students in the programs because they're so focused on equity and access during this time period.
Yeah, we had a great question about if you don't know who your academic success coach is, so that's a great question. Send an email to that asc@fevtutor.com, and your academic success coach will get in touch with you to discuss next steps and collaborate on a plan for getting your students up and running.
Another common question that I think I saw earlier in the presentation, and it comes up just about every webinar we do, but the question was about what grade levels and subjects do you all support? So we support late elementary, middle, and high school, so 3rd through 12th grade. As far as subjects go, we tutor in all core subject areas: math, English, science, and social studies. A lot of our tutoring falls really heavy in math and English because those are heavily tested areas. A lot of times we're doing math and English interventions. During this time, of remote learning during COVID-19 school closures. The tutoring that we're doing is spanning across all of those core subject areas. So 3rd through 12th grade, math, English, science, and social studies.
Yeah, great question about previous tutoring schedules. So we had a question asking, if we already had our students set up for a tutoring schedule during the brick and mortar school day, will we continue with that schedule, or is it flexible? Great question. We have the ability to do either. We can resume the schedule that was previously in place if it works well for students and families. We also can work directly with teachers who might want to help their students to set up a schedule each week, or we can communicate directly with the families themselves. We know that each family probably has a lot of responsibilities right now, and so we want to be as flexible as possible in terms of that scheduling. So schools and districts are oftentimes choosing to sort of do a combination of both, resuming the previous schedules whenever possible, and then working directly with the students and families to set up, to make changes to those schedules that best meet their individual needs.
One of the questions that literally just came through from Stacy Lewis was, how do you support students with IEPs? And this is a question that now more than we've ever seen before continues to pop up. Because we know how challenging it can be to provide the type of individualized instruction that students on IEPs require, especially when you've quickly transitioned over to a remote learning scenario. So since all of our instruction is live and it's all one-to-one, we have the ability to tailor the instruction specifically for individual students based off of their learning styles. So we have learning style options built into our platform for auditory, verbal, digital, and kinesthetic learners. We also have the ability to incorporate a student's IEP goals directly into their learning plan. So anytime we're providing tutoring instruction, we recommend as a best practice that our school partners share information and data on their students with us ahead of time so that we can tailor the instruction accordingly. So whether that's, a school sharing their benchmark assessment data with us, and the same thing with a special education student, sharing some sort of subset of their IEP goals so that we can build that directly into their learning plan. We're doing a lot of special education tutoring during this time period because, the one-to-one instruction is so important and, frankly, difficult to pull off for a lot of school districts during this school closure period in the remote learning environment.
We had a question about on-demand tutoring, if it's available from home. Absolutely. Many of our families are choosing to set up a schedule just because of the ability to provide that consistency. We're also, when we're setting students up with a schedule, we're matching them up with the same tutor each time so that they can start to build a relationship and sort of a rapport over the course of time. But yes, on-demand tutoring is available 24/7 for students, and they can access that from home at any time.
Next question from Raul Diaz. How successful are your tutors with ELL students? So we do quite a bit of work with English language learners in states like California and Texas and elsewhere in the country, especially where there's large, Hispanic student populations. We provide directly through our platform, we provide students with a real-time access to a language translation tool. So they have the ability to translate all of the content and chat within the tutoring lessons back and forth between English and their native language. And so essentially what we're doing is using an English immersion model where students and tutors are communicating in English, but then we're providing students with that real-time translation tool. And we're having a lot of success with ELL student populations, tutoring in math, English, science, and social studies with that real-time language translation tool built in.
Thank you. Natasha Burdine just shared some input. She mentioned that she's a special ed teacher that uses FEV Tutor in her study skills class. She mentioned that the various accommodations that are embedded into the program, such as the different learning style options, are really beneficial for her students. She encourages students to really advocate for themselves in the session, let their tutors know if there's something that they're confused about, if they have questions. We appreciate you sharing that, Ms. Burdine. Thank you.
Question about cost just popped up from Kim Dowling. Kim, I know you mentioned you're new to FEV Tutor, so you're interested about the pricing model. Everything that we do is time-based, so it's all based off of a number of tutoring hours. So all of our tutoring is priced at $25 per hour, and whenever we contract and work with a school district or an individual school site, they're essentially purchasing a bank or a pool of tutoring hours that's going to support their student population. So, based on budget availability or based on, numbers of students that any school or district is looking to support, they would purchase a bank of hours. Those hours would all be priced out at $25 per hour. And if you follow up with that same email address that we mentioned before, asc@fevtutor.com, we can also connect you with one of our account executives who can provide you with a quote, aligned to your needs specifically in your district.
There was a question from Robin about the translation tool. So the translation tool will use that Google Translate feature to toggle what's on the screen. So it'll toggle the content that's on the screen as well as the communication with the student and the tutor back and forth between English and the language that the student chose. And that's real-time, real-time toggling that's happening just using that Google Translate feature.
A lot of really good questions coming in here, trying my best to keep up with them at the same time. Jamie Richardson is asking about how to get buy-in from families. With online tutoring potentially being something that's new and different from what students are accustomed to when it comes to, face-to-face, in-person learning, things like that. So Jamie, that's a great question. One of the things that we're seeing is that by having our family and student engagement team reach out to families to connect them with services, we're getting a lot of feedback from parents and from students and from others that it's actually like empowering for them because they perceive us to be almost like a third party. So we're reaching out saying, hey, your district's sponsoring this, here's an opportunity for you. And then we're getting a lot of buy-in from parents and students and others that way, as opposed to, the alternative, which is like, you're required to do this. This is a mandatory, assignment for you. It's a slightly different approach where our family and student engagement team is doing the outreach. We're being perceived as a third party, and then that's empowering folks to opt in and take advantage of it. Having questions about migrant student populations as well. Just like we do work with English language learners, we also do quite a bit of work with migrant student populations. A lot of times those migrant student populations are mobile in that, we're providing at-home tutoring support even prior to these COVID-19 school closures. A lot of the work that we've historically done with migrant students has been, at-home tutoring. So we're built and we're set up and we're already doing a lot of that. And we're seeing increases in the levels of migrant student support that we're providing, especially during this time period. I'm seeing a number of questions about the learning style options available in our platform. So a lot of questions about how students can communicate with their tutors. So we didn't necessarily plan for a live demonstration for today, but we can certainly provide a live demonstration for training purposes after this presentation. If you contact that ASC email address, we can set that up for you. Just to give you a quick idea, and Heather popped up on the screen here, a visual of what our virtual classroom looks like. So there's a variety of ways students can communicate with their tutors. A lot of students prefer the anonymous nature of the digital communication. So a lot of students prefer, chatting and instant messaging with their tutor. So we have that built in as an option. We also have an auditory component. So if students are auditory learners and if they just have earbuds or headphones that they can plug into their Chromebook or their laptop or whatever device they're using, there's an auditory readout. So everything that their tutor types has the option to be read out loud. There's also a verbal option. So you'll see down in the bottom left, it's really small up here, but there is a microphone or headset icon which students can activate and actually speak back to their tutor through one-way student voice. The reason that we set up the platform in this way is because back in the day, we actually did two-way video and voice tutoring. And what we found was that due to internet bandwidth challenges and due to privacy concerns, it wasn't really realistic to implement on scale based off of a lot of the feedback we received from our district partners. So we've seen that by providing students with these various communication options, a lot of students will actually gravitate towards the digital communication, and others, who need additional accommodations will take advantage of that auditory component and that verbal component. And we've seen that that leads to academic focused conversations in our virtual classroom. So really good questions about that. And I know sometimes it can be tough to sort of hear what I'm saying and sort of visualize it. So if you would like to set up a live demonstration at any point, same thing, just send an email to that asc@fevtutor.com address and we'll set that up for you all.
Yeah, and just a great question about learning style options. What if I have students that need that audio set up for them, so the text-to-speech read aloud as well as the microphone enabled for them at the start of the lesson? Yes, we can set those defaults for students. We just encourage teachers to communicate that information with us on the front end, and we'll make sure we have that set up for students before they log in.
A couple of questions about mobile access. So on a phone, so our platform is device agnostic. It works across any laptop, desktop, device, iPad. We have an app in the Apple Store for iPads. So prior to these COVID-19 school closures, we were working on a mobile app, and now we're actually expediting the completion of that. And we're hoping to be providing an update possibly as soon as next week. With technology development, you never really know for sure, but we are publishing an app for iPhones so that students could access tutoring from their phones as well, because we know, with internet access being limited in some cases, in a lot of districts, it could even double or triple the number of students that would be able to access something like one-to-one tutoring. So a mobile phone app is in the works, and we will be releasing some news and updates on that in the coming weeks as it's published to the Apple Store. These are all really good questions, and we appreciate everyone's participation in the webinar today. Diana, Heather, and I can hang on the line for a while and answer any additional questions that pop up. Heather, if you want to bounce it back over to the sort of next steps slide there. Perfect. Just to sort of reiterate and round things out here. As a next step, we recommend anyone who's interested in launching at-home tutoring support as a remote learning opportunity for your students to send an email and contact our academic success team at asc@fevtutor.com. Let us know your availability for a quick setup phone call, and we'll have one of our academic success coaches connect with you and get it all set up. Again, we're not adding an extra heavy lift for anyone. We just need to connect so that we can establish a plan, and then we'll roll with it from there. So again, we really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. Diana, Heather, and I are going to hang out on the line for a few more minutes and answer some of these individual questions that are popping across. But thank you all very much, and best of luck with everything, and have a good weekend as well.
Yeah, great question, Ms. Snyder. So if you have schedules set up, will teachers still continue to get that weekly feedback? Absolutely. So those weekly reports will continue to be shared with teachers, just as they were being shared before school closures. Ms. Snyder, I saw that you asked us to talk a little bit about the participation points. So our participation points are designed to support students with active engagement in the session. So our tutors are actually using a rubric, whereas we're awarding additional participation points to students who are engaging in higher level thinking, really sort of taking the time to show their work and explain their reasoning. And the scores that students are receiving are percentage scores that are actually based on their exit tickets. So those exit tickets, again, are little mini standards aligned assessments that are given at the end of each session. And that score is based on the student's performance on that exit ticket.
There was a question from Amy Baker regarding parents who might be interested in private pay tutoring. We can send a link across to the group through the chat window to the private pay section of our website, but we do have packages with pricing available for different levels of tutoring packages for private pay purposes. So Amy, we can share a link across through the chat window for that.
Yeah, I saw a question about trying to connect FEV Tutor to Google Classroom. So if anyone is having any challenges with doing that, you can reach out to us directly, and we're happy to help troubleshoot. We have a step-by-step document as well as a video with steps for how to do that. So please reach out directly to us if you do have questions and need some support with getting that set up. We're hanging out on the line for a few minutes because we see there's some additional questions coming in, but no need to stay. We know everyone has a lot of obligations on a Friday, so feel free to jump off whenever the time is right.
Question from Jeff, and related to the question from somebody else as well about offline resources, access to our exit ticket questions. We do have the ability to pull and send a lot of our curriculum resources to teachers as PDF documents. So if you would like access to any of that, any of the content that our tutors use in the tutoring lessons, just contact our academic success team. Let us know specifically what grade level subject standards you're looking for. And we're happy to send those across in a PDF format or whatever would be preferable for you. All right, we'll do a last call here for any final questions. We know everyone's time is limited right now, and it's Friday midday here, so I don't want to keep everyone for too long, but we'll take a last call for any questions. Awesome.
Thanks, Ms. Snyder. We will share that with the tutors. We appreciate your kind words. Ms. Lewis, great question. Yes, we can provide, our lessons can utilize NWEA MAP assessment data, and we can use that to create individualized learning plans for students based on the student RIT scores. And we have a data team that works closely with our instructional team to help get those learning plans set up for students.
Diana, did you already address the question about MAP scores?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry, I was
That's
answering
okay.
another question. Excellent. Well, I get the impression we're good to wrap it up here. So thank you again, everyone. We really appreciate your time. Have a good weekend, and we look forward to collaborating with you all to continue to support student achievement during the school closure period. Hang in there and be well, everyone.
Ms. Richardson, we can reach out to you after. I see you have some questions about some of your students at EPIC, so we can communicate directly with you after this call if that works well.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.